Hello everyone, it's Theme Park Avenue. I am Eric with a very unusual video topic. This one I spontaneously decided to make just because I was reminiscing on my visit to Kentucky Kingdom earlier this year. I found Kentucky Kingdom was a great park, but there was one attraction there that I could not believe existed. And that was not a crazy roller coaster or anything like that. Instead, it was the shocking The LEGO Movie 4D: A New Adventure. Now I know you're saying, that's not crazy, it's a 4D movie, what's so odd about that? Well, I'm very curious as to what would go down that this previous Legoland exclusive would end up being distributed to Kentucky Kingdom. How'd they end up buying it? Was it legal? Well, we don't need to go into legal stuff, but if anyone knows, comment down below. But we will be speculating a little bit onto why this thing exists at all. And before we get into that, let's have a little fun in a way we don't normally on this channel, and review the LEGO Movie 4D. So this one is pretty much a film. You know, you're in a 4D theater when you're at Legoland. I saw this at Legoland Florida, so it was very trippy to experience in a different park. But solely based on the original Legoland experience, not a ton of 4D action really goes on. It's a lot more, you're gonna focus on the jokes in the film, and that sort of thing. So, this film is 12 minutes long, and it is about all of the LEGO Movie protagonists going to Legoland. But it turns out they're actually going to a knockoff called Brick World. And it's run by Lord Business's brother, Risky Business. And his evil plan is to separate them all at different rides, and then hypnotize each of them, and have them perform in his LEGO Movie show. And because it'll be a show with real LEGO Movie characters, it'll bring in millions of people, and he'll be the most successful theme park owner of all time. Now I'll say, this seems like a pretty bad plan in my opinion. I know it's a kid's film, so maybe I shouldn't harp on it too much, but I find there are some major issues. The first being the fact that his sort of hypnotizing bracelets, he inexplicably does not give them the moment they get to the park. I don't know why he didn't say you need that to get in, give it to them, boom, done. Instead of having to build 5 really expensive rides that he thought were going to be outshone by a show where the characters dance. It's very interesting that, in general, his main plan would be to try to get a show going, because I don't know any theme park in the entire world where a show is the main draw for anybody. Unless you're a really big Country Bear Jamboree fan or something. But there's some fun to be had here. So there's this one concept where Risky Business, because it's a ripoff, he has some similar song to Everything Is Awesome, and that's kind of funny. It's illegal, copyright infringement, that sort of thing, but you know, LEGO does it, so there's no actual copyright infringement in the film. But it's very interesting. There's a weird fourth wall break where supposedly we're the audience of the show, and they mainly did that so the audience could interact when Emmett and Wildstyle ask for help in building something, and I'll explain that. There's this sort of incredible moment of Chekhov's gun, where at the very beginning, Risky Business said that lemon water destroys all electrics and all that sort of thing. So Wildstyle remembers that and says, hey, let's shoot some lemon water at the robots and all that, and the hypnotizing devices. So they go get some bricks and start building, ask the audience for help, and spray lemon water. And that's it. And for some reason, an audience member talks to the LEGO Movie characters, but it's in the film. It's as if they're a part of the audience, but you know, they're not. And they say they called the police, and that's why the police arrived to arrest Risky Business. And they said that you're just sitting there doing nothing because it was entertaining. So that's all interesting. What else can be said about the film? Now, I know this is not the craziest production value, most likely. It was a 12-minute short for a theme park, but let's talk about some aspects that are important in the LEGO Movie. So first of all, the voice acting. You have a great cast in the first one, and not every character's there, so you're not going to have Morgan Freeman or Liam Neeson. But most of the original cast returned. which is pretty cool. You got the same actor for Wildstyle, Unikitty, Benny, and Metalbeard. Chris Pratt did not return for Emmett, and I guess he's too good for Lego Movie now. Now he's doing Garfield and all that, so yeah. And it's a shame because I feel that that's one of Chris Pratt's few very strong voice acting roles ever. But it's fine. The guy does an okay job. And he's also in Voltron Legendary Defender, apparently, so I guess this is his redemption to an extent. But anyway, let's talk about the animation. Now, the original Lego Movie has some fantastic visuals, and the style is still kind of maintained, but it looks very off for some reason. I don't know if it's the brightness, or the fact that there's a lot of sort of weird facial expressions that you know wouldn't have been done in the original. It just kind of looks like, as ironic as it is, a cheap knockoff of the original Lego Movie animation style. It's not the worst, but it is a little weird. Now, what else can be said about the story? So there are a few sort of small subplots, I guess you could say. Just character moments that go nowhere, where Emmett gets a super lame ride and everyone else is cool and he's sad. And then Wildstyle feels bad, so she's like, hey Emmett, let's go on my roller coaster that's super cool together. And Risky Business is like, no, you had to be separated for this to work. He's saying this to himself, of course. But it's so odd to me that he would not give Emmett a good ride because of how obvious it would be that nobody would want to go on that one. So, I know this is me dissing a cartoon villain, but I do feel that, given the seemingly infinite resources this guy has, he could definitely have pulled off something much more simply. So what else is of note? There is one thing. Risky Business does have the greatest line in cinema history, where Wildstyle is dismantling the robot to make the lemon water gun or whatever, and he says to the henchmen, do something to her. That's fantastic. Could you imagine if maybe Luke Skywalker shows up to the Death Star and Darth Vader says, do something to him? I love it. It's definitely one of the best ironic moments. So that's enough talk about the Lego Movie 4D A New Adventure in terms of reviewing the film. Let's briefly discuss the weirdest thing, and that is how it is adapted to Kentucky Kingdom. So first of all, there's a bit of a pre-show for this one. What is the pre-show, you may ask? Well, you're standing in a room before you enter the actual theater. There are some small screens, and shockingly, they played the first fifth of the film or so, and then just continue the film where it left off when you sit down in the main theater. I don't know why they did this. Maybe having a pre-show seems really cool to them, but I was just very confused by this. And then the most notable change during the actual show, well, there's two, but first of all, the seats are individual and much more mobile than the big theater that you have at the Legoland parks. And that's kind of cool. The motion doesn't really sync up with what's going on, but it's a nice effort, so I applaud them for that. And the one other bizarre thing is the ending. The ending was not changed. And they say, now we can go to Legoland, and you can come too. Because when you exit, normally, you're exiting into Legoland, because that's where the ride is. But here, you're going to Kentucky Kingdom, which is, a different park, different chain, competitor, technically. So it's very funny that this film is inadvertently promoting another park. I'm very confused as to how this one exists at Kentucky Kingdom. I guess they must have bought it. Legoland was thinking, yeah, we're not using this anymore, we'll sell it. I know there are some 4D movies that you can find at multiple places, like that one SpongeBob one where he says, by the way, you're doing great for your first day, and nothing else. So I guess the main theory would be something simple, just Kentucky Kingdom needed a movie for their 4D theater, and they got that one. But it's just such an unusual experience for me to have been on this thing in 2016, and 7 years later, ride it again. and remember certain things, and then see things that I didn't realize the first time just don't hold up. It's so funny. And one thing I did look at, the Wikipedia page says in the distribution section that it plays at Legoland and Legoland Discovery Centers. There's nothing about Kentucky Kingdom, so I guess it's not very well known. It is just kind of funny, though. I don't know what else to say. 6 out of 10 on IMDb, it seems. That's kind of funny. I don't think I'd quite go 6 out of 10, but it's a theme park film. I'm not gonna review a theme park movie with a final score or anything. But it was still very fun to talk about something a bit different in a bit more of an unscripted video. So, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this one. Comment down below if you want more of this kind of video in the future. Subscribe for more theme park content. I'll see you next time.